Dr. Zariah Cole, a woman who built a healthcare empire from her grandmother's kitchen table, always believed success would eventually silence the whispers. Today, at the most exclusive charity gala in Connecticut, she's about to learn that wealth doesn't protect you from hatred. It just puts you in rooms where hatred wears designer clothes. As she stands on the terrace of Hawthorne Ridge Country Club in her bold red suit, she feels the weight of 100 eyes measuring her worth. What happens in the next 10 minutes will be captured on a dozen phones. But what happens 10 days later will bring one of the most powerful families in the state to their knees. Why would a child attack a stranger at a charity event? What does his mother's laughter reveal about this family? And what will Dr. Cole do when she finally has the power to respond? Stay tuned to find out. And before we get into this incredible story, let us know in the comments where you are watching from today. If this story moves you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. The cupcake hit her chest before she even saw it coming. Chocolate and vanilla frosting exploded against her red blazer. The impact pushed her back half a step. Cold, wet, heavy. Brown smears spreading across $2,000 worth of Italian silk like a stain that would never wash out. Zariah looked down at her chest. Cake crumbs stuck to her white blouse underneath. Frosting dripped toward her belt. Her gold earrings swung from the impact. Then came the laughter. Not nervous laughter. Not shocked laughter. Real, delighted, amused laughter. She looked up to find the source. A boy stood 15 feet away near the dessert table. Maybe 11 years old. Light blue checkered shirt tucked into navy pants. Brown hair catching the afternoon sun. His arm was still extended from the throw. His face split into the widest grin she had ever seen on a child. He raised his fist in triumph. Like he had just scored a touchdown. Like he had just won something. Behind him, a woman in a floral dress clapped her hands together. "Oh, Preston." The woman's voice carried across the terrace. "You're absolutely terrible." But her tone held no reproach. Only amusement. Only pride. A man in a navy blazer stood beside the woman. His laugh was deep, satisfied. He put his hand on the boy's shoulder. Squeezed. The universal gesture of approval. Father. Mother. Son. A family unit. Bonded in this moment. Over her humiliation. Zariah stood frozen. Frosting dripping down her chest. 50 people on this terrace and not one of them moved to help. Not one offered a napkin. Not one said a word of reproach to the child who had just assaulted a stranger. Instead, they watched. Some smirked into their champagne glasses. Some whispered behind manicured hands. A few looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Did nothing. The servers kept their eyes down. Most of them black and brown. They knew better. They had learned. The afternoon sun beat down on the terrace. The jazz quartet played something soft. The smell of fresh-cut grass mixed with expensive perfume. And Dr. Zariah Cole stood there covered in dessert while Connecticut's elite decided she was entertainment. The boy's mother walked closer. Her heels clicked against the stone terrace. She was maybe 45. Blonde highlights. Face too smooth from treatments. Diamond tennis bracelet catching light with every gesture. Honestly, the woman said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Some people just don't know how to take a joke. Her eyes swept over Zariah's ruined suit. Over her natural hair pulled back from her face. Over everything about her that marked her as different in the sea of wealth. Perhaps you should find the powder room, the woman continued. Clean yourself up. If you can find it? She smiled. The kind of smile that was really a dismissal. The kind of smile that said you don't belong here and we both know it. Zariah's hands clenched at her sides. Every instinct screamed. Say something. Do something. Make them see you as human. But she had been in rooms like this before. She knew how this worked. If she raised her voice, she would be aggressive. If she showed anger, she would be proving their assumptions. If she caused a scene, she would be the story they told at dinner parties for years. So she did something that surprised even herself. She reached for a napkin from the nearest table. Dabbed at the frosting on her blazer. Her movement slow. Deliberate. Controlled. I think, she said quietly, your son just assaulted a stranger. The laughter stopped. The mother's smile tightened. The father's hand dropped from his son's shoulder. And somewhere on this terrace, someone's phone was still recording. Capturing everything. Waiting to be watched. Zariah didn't know their names yet. Didn't know the father controlled $1 billion healthcare company. Didn't know the mother sat on every charity board in the county. Didn't know the boy had never heard the word no in his entire privileged life. But she would learn. And when she did, everything would change. Because the woman they had just humiliated held contracts worth $89 million. Employed 340 people. Advised the Surgeon General on healthcare data. And she never forgot a face. Or a slight. The boy's name was Preston Hawthorne III. 11 years old. Only child. Heir to a fortune built on hospital contracts and insurance deals. He stood by the dessert table now, high-fiving his friend Oliver. A smaller boy with red hair who had watched the whole thing with wide, admiring eyes. "Did you see that?" Preston's voice carried across the terrace. "Right in the chest." He made the throwing motion again, reliving his triumph. Oliver laughed on cue. Their parents watched from nearby tables. Indulgent smiles. The kind of smiles that said boys will be boys. The kind that had excused every cruel thing Preston had ever done. And there had been plenty. Last summer at the country club pool, he had held a younger boy's head underwater until the child cried. The lifeguard said nothing. The boy's parents said nothing. The Hawthorns donated $20,000 to the club's renovation fund the following week. Last Christmas at his school's charity drive, Preston had called the janitor's daughter the help when she tried to sit at his lunch table. The teacher overheard. The teacher said nothing. Preston's parents donated a new computer lab the following month. This was how he learned. Through silence. Through approval. Through the absence of consequences. His mother, Amelia Hawthorne, stood near the bar now. She was telling friends about the incident. Her voice carried in the way that wealthy voices do when they don't need to care who hears. "She looked absolutely ridiculous," Amelia said. "Standing there so serious in that red suit. Like she was somebody important." Her friends laughed. 3 women in designer dresses. All blonde. All smooth. All nodding in agreement. Preston's aim was perfect, one of them added. "That boy has a future in baseball." More laughter. The kind that bonds people together over shared cruelty. Calder Hawthorne stood apart from the women. He was 48 years old. Third-generation wealth. His grandfather had started Hawthorne Medical Holdings in 1962. His father had grown it. Calder mostly maintained it. He was good at networking. Good at golf. Good at inheriting. He pulled out his phone now. Checked his stocks. Checked his email. Checked everything except his conscience. A business associate approached. Gerald Morrison. Old money from Greenwich. Calder. Gerald nodded toward where Zariah had been standing. Who was that woman? No idea. Calder shrugged. Someone's guest. Wandered in from God knows where. She seemed out of place? Calder finished. Clearly. Gerald hesitated. The suit was expensive. Doesn't mean she belongs here. The conversation ended. Gerald drifted toward the bar. Calder returned to his phone. Neither man gave another thought to the woman in red. She had already left the terrace anyway. Walked out through the glass doors. Disappeared into the clubhouse. Gone. Easy to forget. Easy to dismiss. That was the thing about people who didn't fight back. They became invisible. Their pain became invisible. Their humanity became invisible. Preston grabbed another pastry from the dessert table. Chocolate croissant this time. He bit into it with the satisfaction of a child who had just discovered there were no limits to what he could do. His mother smiled at him from across the terrace. His father nodded in his direction. The jazz quartet played on. And the Hawthorns settled back into their comfortable lives. Untouched. Unchallenged. Unchanged. They would sleep well tonight. They would laugh about the incident over breakfast. They would tell this story at parties for years to come. And they would never see what was coming. Because somewhere across town, in a home office overlooking the city, Dr. Zariah Cole was hanging a ruined red blazer on her door. Evidence. Reminder. Motivation. Her phone sat on the desk beside her. Voice memo app open. 23 minutes recorded. She had learned long ago to document everything. Every slight. Every insult. Every moment people revealed who they truly were. Her attorney's number was already dialing. The Hawthorns thought they had won. They had no idea the game had just begun. The frosting had dried by the time Zariah reached her car. It left dark stains on the red silk that would never come out. A permanent record of the afternoon. A reminder she didn't need. She sat in her Mercedes for 10 minutes before driving. Hands on the steering wheel. Breathing slowly. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. The technique her therapist had taught her years ago. For moments exactly like this. The scene played on repeat in her mind. The impact of the cupcake. The boy's triumphant fist pump. The mother's delighted laugh. The father's approving hand on his son's shoulder. The crowd watching like spectators at a zoo. She had been in boardrooms with senators. She had testified before congressional committees. She had negotiated contracts worth more than most people would see in 10 lifetimes. And a child had just thrown food at her chest while his parents laughed. Because of how she looked. Because of what they assumed she was. Because money and titles meant nothing when the skin was the first thing people saw. Zariah started the car. Pulled out of the country club parking lot. Drove past the manicured hedges and the iron gates and the stone pillars that announced Hawthorne Ridge to the world. She didn't go home. Instead, she drove to her office. Cole Systems Group occupied the top 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. 340 employees. 89 million in annual contracts. Healthcare data serving 2.3 million patients across 12 states. She had built every square foot of it. From her grandmother's kitchen table when she was 26. From a $3,000 investment that everyone said was foolish. From 12-hour days and missed holidays and sacrifices that wealthy people never had to make. Her grandmother had cleaned houses for families like the Hawthorns. Scrubbed their toilets. Washed their dishes. Been invisible in their spaces for 40 years. Baby, her grandmother used to say, someday you're going to walk through the front door of places like that. Not the service entrance. The front door. And when you do, you remember who got you there. Zariah remembered. Every single day. She walked through her office building now. Past the security desk. Past the elevators. Up to the 12th floor where her private office waited. Her assistant had gone home for the day. The floor was quiet. Just humming computers and climate control and the city lights beginning to sparkle outside the windows. She hung the ruined blazer on her office door. Looked at it for a long moment. Then she sat at her desk. Opened her laptop. Started typing. The Hawthorns. She searched the name. Results flooded the screen. News articles. Business profiles. Society pages. Charity announcements. Calder Hawthorne. CEO of Hawthorne Medical Holdings. $1.2 billion in assets. Hospital management contracts across 6 states. Insurance partnerships worth hundreds of millions. Amelia Hawthorne. Society queen. Board member of 12 charitable organizations. Instagram influencer with 89,000 followers. Tagged in photos at galas and luncheons and ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Preston Hawthorne 3. Mentioned in a school newsletter. Honor roll. Baseball team. Young Leaders of Tomorrow Award. Zariah read everything. Made notes. Built a picture. Then she found something that made her stop. Hawthorne Medical Holdings. Federal healthcare contract. Under review. She clicked the link. The company was bidding on a major government contract. Healthcare data management for underserved communities. $47 million over 5 years. The same contract her company was pursuing. The same contract that would determine whether millions of people got equitable healthcare access. Zariah sat back in her chair. The coincidence was almost too perfect. The family that had humiliated her was competing for the same prize she was. The family that had taught their son that some people didn't matter was trying to win a contract to serve the people they looked down on. And the final decision meeting was in 3 weeks. Zariah picked up her phone. Dialed her attorney. Rachel. It's Zariah. I need you to look into something for me. She explained the incident. Described the family. Shared the recording. When she finished, Rachel was quiet for a moment. That's assault, Rachel finally said. The child committed assault. The parents encouraged it. You have witnesses. You have audio. I know. What do you want to do? Zariah looked at the ruined blazer hanging on her door. At the chocolate stains that would never wash out. At the evidence of a moment when a family decided she was worth less than the desserts on their table. I want to wait, she said. Wait. The contract decision is in 3 weeks. Let's see how things develop. Rachel paused. You're planning something. I'm gathering information. Zariah. I'll be in touch. She hung up. Turned back to her laptop. The Hawthorns had forgotten about her already. She was sure of it. Just another face in a crowd of faces they dismissed every day. But Zariah Cole didn't forget. And in exactly 9 days, the Hawthorns would learn what it cost to underestimate her. 9 days passed like seasons changing. Slow for some. Fast for others. For the Hawthorns, life continued exactly as it always had. Monday, Calder closed a minor acquisition. Amelia attended a charity luncheon. Preston won a baseball game. Tuesday, family dinner at the country club. Filet mignon. Lobster bisque. No one mentioned the woman in red. Wednesday, Amelia posted an Instagram photo. Sunset over the golf course. Caption, grateful for these perfect moments. #blessed life. Thursday, Preston bragged to his friends about the cupcake throw. The story had grown. Now he claimed she had cried. She hadn't. But the lie made him feel bigger. Friday, Calder played 18 holes with a state senator. Discussed legislation that would benefit Hawthorne Medical Holdings. The senator smiled and nodded and accepted an invitation to the family's annual Christmas party. Saturday, a charity auction at the club. The Hawthorns donated a week at their Hamptons house. Bid $75,000 on a painting they didn't want just to outbid the Morrisons. Sunday, church in the morning. Brunch afterward. A family that checked every box of respectable. The week passed without consequence. The second week began the same way. But on day 8, something shifted. It started small. An email Calder sent to a federal contact went unanswered. Unusual. The man always responded within hours. Calder sent a follow-up. Still nothing. He called. Voicemail. He mentioned it to his assistant. Schedule a meeting with Harrison at the Federal Liaison Office. His assistant came back 30 minutes later. Face carefully neutral. They said they'll call back to confirm, sir. They didn't call back. Day 9 arrived with more silence. Calder's morning began with 3 unreturned phone calls. His federal contacts had gone dark. People who normally fell over themselves to take his meetings were suddenly unavailable. He told himself it was coincidence. End of quarter. Budget reviews. Nothing personal. But something felt wrong. At 11 in the morning, his assistant knocked on his office door. Her face was pale now. Not neutral. Pale. Sir. We have a problem. Calder looked up from his computer. What kind of problem? The federal healthcare contract. The committee called. His stomach tightened. And? The decision meeting has been moved up. It's not in 3 weeks anymore. It's Friday. Friday? That's 4 days from now. Yes, sir. And there's something else. She hesitated. Calder had never seen his assistant hesitate. What? They've added an outside evaluator to the review committee. A new company has been brought in to assess all the bids. What company? She placed a folder on his desk. Opened it to show a printout. Cole Systems Group. The name meant nothing to Calder. He had never heard of them. Some small firm probably. Government bureaucracy bringing in consultants. Who runs this company? He asked. His assistant swallowed. I looked them up, sir. The CEO is Dr. Zariah Cole. Still nothing. The name was common enough. And? I found a photo of her online. From a Forbes article. She turned the folder to show another printout. A professional headshot. Navy blazer. Natural hair. Confident smile. The same face. The same woman. The woman from the terrace. The woman his son had hit with a cupcake. The woman his wife had laughed at. The woman he had dismissed as nobody. Calder's coffee cup slipped from his hand. Dark liquid spread across his desk, soaking documents, dripping onto the carpet. He didn't notice. His mind was racing. Connecting dots he had never thought to connect. The red suit. The frosting. The laughter. His hand on Preston's shoulder. All of it captured on phones. All of it witnessed by 50 people. All of it recorded in ways he hadn't considered. Sir? His assistant's voice seemed far away. Sir, are you all right? Calder grabbed his phone. Fumbled with the screen. Found his wife's contact. She answered on the 3rd ring. What is it? I'm at the salon. That woman. From the gala. The cupcake. What about her? She's a CEO, Amelia. She runs a healthcare data company. An $89 million company. Silence on the line. And she's reviewing our federal contract. More silence. Amelia, she's deciding whether we get $47 million. His wife's voice came back small. Uncertain. Afraid. That's not possible. She didn't look like. I know what she looked like. I know what we did. And now she's going to decide our future. The salon noise faded on Amelia's end. She had walked somewhere private. What do we do? Calder stared at the photo of Dr. Zariah Cole. At the confident smile. At the success written in every line of that face. The woman they had dismissed as nothing. The woman who now held everything. I don't know, he said honestly. I don't know what we do. But somewhere downtown, in a glass tower overlooking the city, Dr. Zariah Cole knew exactly what she was going to do. And the Hawthorns were about to find out. Panic spread through the Hawthorne household like wildfire through dry brush. Amelia left the salon with half her highlights unfinished. Drove 90 miles per hour down the highway. Burst through the front door of their estate like the house was on fire. Where's Preston? She demanded. School, Calder said. He was pacing the living room. Phone in hand. Suit jacket abandoned. Does he know? How would he know? He's 11. What are we going to do? The question echoed off the vaulted ceilings. Off the original artwork. Off the Swarovski chandelier that cost more than most people's houses. She can't do anything, Amelia said. But her voice trembled. It would be unprofessional. Revenge for a joke at a party. It wasn't a joke, Amelia. Our son assaulted her. We laughed. Everyone saw. It was a cupcake. It was assault. The word hung between them. They had never called it that before. Never framed it that way. Because that would mean admitting what they had allowed their son to become. Calder pulled up Zariah's company website on his laptop. Cole Systems Group. The homepage showed statistics. 2.3 million patients served. 12 state partnerships. Federal contracts across 4 agencies. She's bigger than us, he said quietly. What? Her company. It's bigger than ours in federal healthcare. Amelia sank onto the sofa. Her face was gray beneath the expensive foundation. How is that possible? She didn't look. I know. Calder cut her off. I know what she looked like to us. That's the problem. He navigated to the About page. Read Zariah's biography aloud. PhD in Public Health Administration from Johns Hopkins. MBA from Wharton. Started the company from her grandmother's kitchen with a $3,000 investment. Built it into an $89 million operation. Board member of 3 major nonprofits. Advisor to the Surgeon General. Each credential landed like a blow. TED Talk with 1.4 million views, Calder continued. Featured in Forbes, Bloomberg, NPR. Testified before Congress on healthcare data equity. He looked at his wife. And Preston threw a cupcake at her chest while we laughed. Amelia's hand went to her mouth. The full weight of their mistake was finally sinking in. We didn't know, she whispered. That's not a defense. But we didn't know who she was. Should that matter? Calder's voice rose. Should we only treat people with respect if they might matter someday? The question silenced her. It silenced him too. Because the answer revealed something about both of them that they had spent a lifetime avoiding. Their son's cruelty hadn't come from nowhere. It had come from them. From every dismissive comment. Every condescending look. Every assumption about people who didn't dress right or talk right or look right. Preston had learned it all. Absorbed it. Performed it perfectly. And now the bill was due. Calder's phone buzzed. Email notification. He opened it with shaking hands. From Federal Healthcare Contract Committee. Subject, Bid Status Update. Dear Mr. Hawthorne, please be advised that the review timeline for Contract HC 2847 has been accelerated. Final presentations will occur Friday, June 14th. An independent evaluation team has been assigned to assess all submissions. Please confirm your attendance. Friday. 4 days away. We need to apologize, Amelia said suddenly. Go to her. Explain. Make this right. You think she wants an apology? What choice do we have? Calder looked at his wife. At the panic in her eyes. At the fear that their comfortable world might actually face consequences. I'll reach out, he said. See if she'll meet with me. Us? She should meet with us. And Preston. Preston? He needs to apologize too. He needs to understand. For the first time, Calder saw something different in his wife's eyes. Not just fear of losing the contract. Fear of what they had created. He nodded slowly. I'll try. He opened a new email. Began typing. Deleted it. Started over. Deleted again. What do you say to someone you humiliated publicly? Someone you dismissed as nothing? Someone who now holds your future in their hands? He finally settled on something simple. Dr. Cole, I believe we met at the Hawthorne Ridge Gala. I would be grateful for an opportunity to speak with you privately. At your convenience. Calder Hawthorne. He hit send before he could change his mind. The response came 6 hours later. One line. Request received. My assistant will contact you. No warmth. No anger. Just cold professionalism. Somehow that was worse. Because Dr. Zariah Cole didn't need to be angry. She didn't need to be emotional. She didn't need to be anything at all. She had already won. The Hawthorns just didn't know it yet. The email from Zariah's assistant arrived at 7:47 a.m. on Wednesday morning. 3 words that would determine the Hawthorns' future. Friday. 2 p.m. Downtown. No address. No explanation. Just an instruction to confirm attendance. Calder confirmed within 30 seconds. His fingers trembled over the keyboard. His coffee sat untouched. His wife stood behind him, reading over his shoulder. That's it? Amelia's voice was thin. That's all she said? What did you expect? A warm invitation. The silence between them stretched. 2 days remained until Friday. 2 days of waiting. 2 days of not knowing what awaited them. Calder spent those 2 days trying to salvage what he could. He called every contact in his network. Left messages for people who didn't call back. Sent emails that received automated responses. The walls were closing in. Thursday afternoon brought more bad news. His company's largest hospital partner requested an urgent meeting. The kind of meeting that happens when contracts are about to be reconsidered. The kind that begins with phrases like, in light of recent concerns. What recent concerns? Calder demanded over the phone. The hospital administrator hesitated. There's been some discussion about your organization's values alignment. Values alignment. The phrase meant nothing and everything. Who's been discussing this? Another hesitation. I'm not at liberty to say. But I would encourage you to address any outstanding issues before our meeting next week. The call ended. Calder sat in his office staring at the phone. His empire was crumbling and he didn't even know exactly how or why. Just that a woman in a red suit had set something in motion that he couldn't stop. Amelia spent Thursday preparing Preston. This was harder than she expected. Why do I have to apologize? The boy asked. It was just a joke. It wasn't a joke, sweetheart. You laughed. The words hit Amelia like the cupcake had hit Zariah. Direct. Unavoidable. True. I know I laughed, she said quietly. That was wrong. Preston's face showed confusion. His mother had never admitted being wrong about anything. This wasn't how their world worked. The woman you threw food at is very important, Amelia continued. She runs a big company. She's deciding something that affects our family. So I have to apologize because she's rich? The question stopped Amelia cold. Because her son had understood exactly what she was saying. And exactly what she wasn't saying. No, she said slowly. You should apologize because what you did was wrong. Regardless of who she is. But you didn't say that when it happened. I know. You said she should clean herself up. I know, Preston. So why was it okay then and not okay now? Amelia looked at her son. At the confusion in his eyes. At the logic he was applying to a world that had taught him rules she was now trying to change. She didn't have an answer. Because the honest answer was ugly. The honest answer was that she had believed it was okay because she thought the woman didn't matter. That her treatment of strangers depended on their perceived value. That human dignity was conditional. I was wrong, she finally said. We were all wrong. And now we have to make it right. Preston studied her face. Looking for the lie. The angle. The hidden agenda he had learned to expect from adults. He didn't find it. Something in his expression shifted. Not understanding exactly. But the beginning of something. A crack in the certainty he had always carried. Okay, he said quietly. I'll apologize. It wasn't much. But it was more than Amelia had expected. And it was more than she deserved. Friday arrived like a verdict waiting to be read. The Hawthorns drove downtown in silence. Calder behind the wheel. Amelia in the passenger seat. Preston in the back, fidgeting with his tie. The Cole Systems building rose 12 stories into the afternoon sky. Glass and steel. Modern and imposing. The kind of building that announced success without needing to say a word. They parked in the visitor garage. Walked through the lobby. Gave their names to the security desk. Dr. Cole is expecting you. 12th floor. The elevator ride felt endless. Soft music played. Numbers climbed. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The doors opened onto a reception area that cost more to furnish than most people's homes. Original artwork on the walls. Fresh flowers on every surface. Floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city below. A young woman approached. Professional smile. Tablet in hand. Mr. and Mrs. Hawthorne? And Preston? Please follow me. She led them down a hallway lined with awards and certifications. Industry recognition. Government commendations. A framed letter from the Surgeon General. Every step reminded them of what they had dismissed. The conference room doors were glass. Through them, Calder could see Zariah sitting at the head of a long table. Alone. Waiting. She wore a red suit. The same shade as the day they met. Not an accident. A statement. A reminder. The assistant opened the doors. Gestured for them to enter. Then closed the doors behind them. They were alone with the woman they had humiliated. Zariah did not stand. Did not smile. Did not offer her hand. Please, she said simply. Sit. 3 chairs waited on the opposite side of the table. They sat. The distance between them felt like miles. Silence stretched. 10 seconds. 20. Zariah studied each of them in turn. Her expression was unreadable. Calder cleared his throat. Dr. Cole, I know why you're here. Her voice was calm. Professional. Ice cold. You've come to apologize. Because you learned who I am. Because you realized I have power. Because your contract depends on my recommendation. She paused. Tell me. Would you be here if I was nobody? If I was just a woman at a party who got food thrown at her by a child while his parents laughed? No one answered. Because the answer was obvious. That's what I thought. Zariah leaned back in her chair. So let me be clear about what this meeting is and isn't. It's not about accepting your apology. It's about you understanding what you did and why it matters. Amelia started to speak. Dr. Cole, I truly am sorry. Mrs. Hawthorne. Zariah's voice cut through. I watched you laugh when your son assaulted me. I watched you tell me to clean myself up. I watched you dismiss me as nothing in front of 50 people. She turned to Calder. And I watched you put your hand on your son's shoulder in approval. Like he had done something to be proud of. Finally, she looked at Preston. Her expression shifted slightly. Not warmer. But different. And I watched an 11-year-old boy learn that cruelty has no consequences. That some people simply don't matter. That power means you can hurt anyone you want. Preston couldn't meet her eyes. He stared at the table. That's the real crime here, Zariah continued. Not the cupcake. Not the frosting on my suit. But what you're teaching this child. What he's learning about who deserves respect and who doesn't. The conference room was silent. Outside the windows, the city hummed with life. Inside, 3 people faced the full weight of their choices. Calder finally spoke. What do you want from us? Zariah reached for a folder on the table. Slid it across to them. Inside are 3 requirements. Complete them, and we're done. Fail, and the full recording from that day goes to every media outlet in the country. Amelia's hand trembled as she opened the folder. She read aloud. 1. Preston will complete 200 hours of community service at a Title I school in Hartford. Working with children who have never seen a country club. She swallowed hard. 2. Your family will fund a first-generation college scholarship. $500,000 over 10 years. Named not after your family. After mine. The Mildred Cole Scholarship. My grandmother cleaned houses for people like you. She never got to go to college. Now other people's grandchildren will. Amelia's voice cracked. 3. Amelia Hawthorne will resign from every charitable board she currently serves on. Every organization where she has used her position to gatekeep access. To decide who belongs and who doesn't. The folder sat between them like a grenade. These are your terms, Zariah said. Take them or leave them. Calder looked at his wife. At his son. At the woman who held their future. And if we agree? The contract? Zariah's expression didn't change. The contract will be decided on its merits. Not on personal feelings. Unlike your family, I don't let assumptions about people determine how I treat them professionally. She stood. You have until Monday to decide. My assistant will show you out. She walked toward a door at the back of the conference room. Stopped. Turned back one final time. One more thing. For Preston. The boy looked up. I built this company from nothing. My grandmother cleaned toilets. My mother worked 2 jobs. I got a scholarship to college because someone believed I deserved a chance. She held his gaze. One day, you're going to meet someone who looks nothing like power is supposed to look. Remember this moment. Remember how you treated me. And choose differently. She left through the back door. The Hawthornes sat alone in the conference room. The folder waited on the table. And the rest of their lives waited on their decision. The Hawthornes signed the agreement Monday morning. There was no negotiation. No counteroffers. No lawyers trying to find loopholes. They simply signed their names and returned the documents to Zariah's office. The consequences began immediately. Tuesday, Amelia resigned from the Hawthorne Ridge Ladies Auxiliary Committee. The same committee that had hosted the gala. The same committee where she had laughed at a stranger. Wednesday, she resigned from the Hartford Children's Hospital Board. Then the Connecticut Arts Foundation. Then the Junior League. Then 4 more organizations she had used as platforms for her social status. Each resignation required a letter. Each letter required an explanation. Word spread through society circles like fire through dry grass. Did you hear about Amelia Hawthorne? They say she did something terrible at the gala. I heard there's a video. The video never leaked. Zariah kept her word. But the rumors were almost worse. Because imagination filled in details that reality couldn't match. Amelia stopped going out. Stopped posting on Instagram. Stopped answering calls from women who had laughed with her just weeks before. Her follower count dropped. 89,000 became 70,000. Then 50,000. Then 30. The brand partnerships ended. The invitations stopped coming. The life she had built on appearances crumbled because people could finally see what was underneath. Thursday, Preston began his community service. The Title I school in Hartford was nothing like his private academy. No gleaming halls. No state-of-the-art facilities. No children of privilege comparing summer homes. Instead, he found kids who brought their own lunch because the cafeteria food was all they would eat that day. Kids who wore the same clothes 3 days in a row because their parents worked 2 jobs and didn't have time for laundry. Kids who had never seen a country club and never would. His job was simple. Help with homework. Read with younger students. Be present. The first week was torture. The kids looked at him like he was an alien. His designer clothes. His careful haircut. His complete inability to understand their world. A 7-year-old girl named Destiny asked him on day 3, "Why are you here?" Preston didn't have a good answer. "I did something wrong." "Like what?" "I was mean to someone." Destiny nodded seriously. "My mama says being mean makes you ugly inside. Even if you look pretty outside." The words stayed with him. Coming from a child who had nothing. Directed at a boy who had everything. He started showing up early. Staying late. Learning names. Asking questions. By week 4, something had changed. Not completely. Change doesn't work like that. But the beginning of something. The first cracks in a worldview built on superiority. Friday, the federal contract decision was announced. Hawthorne Medical Holdings did not win. The contract went to Meridian Healthcare Systems. A company with better outcomes. Better community engagement. Better values alignment. Zariah's recommendation had been straightforward. Based entirely on data. On performance metrics. On organizational culture. The Hawthorne's behavior wasn't mentioned in her report. Didn't need to be. Their company simply wasn't the best option. And that was almost worse than punishment. Because it meant they had lost on merit. Their entitlement hadn't been enough to guarantee success. Their name hadn't opened every door. Calder took the news quietly. Sat in his office. Looked at the photo of his grandfather on the wall. 3 generations of Hawthornes. Building something. Maintaining something. Believing they deserved everything they had. What had they actually earned? His phone buzzed. A text from Amelia. "Preston wants to keep doing the community service. Even after the 200 hours are done." Calder read it twice. Then he smiled. Not because they had won anything. Not because things were okay. But because maybe, just maybe, something good was growing from the wreckage of their worst moment. 6 months passed. The Hawthornes were different people now. Not transformed. Transformation takes longer than 6 months. But changed. Cracked open. Forced to look at parts of themselves they had spent lifetimes avoiding. Amelia no longer posted on social media. She spent her Tuesdays volunteering at a food bank. Anonymous. No cameras. No credit. Just work that needed doing. The first time she served meals to families who couldn't afford groceries, a woman recognized her. "Aren't you Amelia Hawthorne?" Amelia froze. Waiting for the accusation. The judgment. Instead, the woman smiled. "I heard you've been going through some things. Takes courage to change." Courage. The word felt like a gift. Calder restructured his company's hiring practices. Brought in consultants to address bias. Changed policies that had favored certain backgrounds over others. His board resisted at first. Why fix what isn't broken? Because it is broken, Calder told them. We just couldn't see it. Or didn't want to. The changes cost money. Took time. Made some people uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort was the price of growth. He understood that now. Preston finished his 200 hours of community service. Then signed up for 200 more. Then started a tutoring program at his private school, connecting wealthy kids with Title I students. His friends thought he was crazy at first. Then some of them joined. Destiny, the 7-year-old who had asked why he was there, started calling him Mr. Preston. "You're less ugly inside now," she told him one day. He laughed. For the first time in months, genuinely laughed. "Thank you, Destiny. I'm trying." "That's all you can do. My mama says trying is everything." The Mildred Cole Scholarship was announced in October. $500,000 over 10 years. $50,000 per year for first-generation college students. The first recipient was announced in November. A young woman from Hartford named Keisha Williams. 18 years old. Valedictorian of her high school. Accepted to Yale. Her grandmother had cleaned houses for 40 years. Just like Zariah's grandmother. Zariah attended the scholarship ceremony. Watched Keisha receive the award. Watched a young woman's future open up because someone had been held accountable. This was the real victory. Not revenge. Not punishment. Not humiliation. Legacy. The ripple effect of demanding better. Of refusing to accept cruelty as normal. Of using power to lift rather than destroy. After the ceremony, Calder approached Zariah. "Dr. Cole." She turned. Her expression was neutral. Professional. "Mr. Hawthorne. I wanted to thank you." She raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For not destroying us. You could have. The video. The media. You could have ended everything." Zariah considered him carefully. "I didn't want to destroy you, Mr. Hawthorne. I wanted to teach you something. Something your money couldn't buy. Something your privilege had hidden from you." "What's that?" That every person deserves dignity. Not because of who they are, but because of who we're supposed to be. She extended her hand. He shook it. Not forgiveness. Not friendship. But something like acknowledgement. Recognition that damage could become growth if you were willing to do the work. I hope Preston keeps surprising you, Zariah said. He already has. Good. She walked away. Red suit catching the afternoon light. The same woman they had dismissed as nothing. The same woman who had shown them everything they were missing. Calder watched her go. Then he went home to his family. There was still so much work to do. 1 year later, Zariah stood at a podium in Washington, D.C. The National Healthcare Equity Conference had invited her to deliver the closing address. 2,000 professionals in the audience. Cameras streaming to thousands more. She had spoken at events like this before. But this one felt different. Because in the front row sat a familiar face. Preston Hawthorne, now 12 years old. Not as a guest of his parents, but as a representative of the youth mentorship program he had helped create. The program that connected privileged kids with underserved communities. He had asked to attend. Had written a letter to the conference organizers explaining why. They had been impressed enough to give him a seat. Zariah caught his eye. Nodded once. He nodded back. Not the same boy who had thrown food at her chest. Not the same child who had raised his fist in triumph over her humiliation. Someone different. Someone still becoming. Zariah began her speech. A year ago, I stood on the terrace of a country club in Connecticut. I was wearing a red suit that cost $2,000. I had just closed a deal worth $12 million. I was about to meet with a federal committee about a contract that would serve millions of underserved patients. She paused. And an 11-year-old boy threw a cupcake at my chest while his parents laughed. The audience went silent. I could have been angry. I was angry. I could have sought revenge. I was tempted. I could have destroyed that family publicly. I had the power to do it. She looked out at the crowd. But I chose something different. Because revenge doesn't change systems. Revenge doesn't teach lessons that last. Revenge just creates more pain, more division, more reasons for people to stay exactly who they've always been. She took a breath. Instead, I demanded accountability. Real accountability. The kind that requires work. The kind that changes behavior, not just appearances. The kind that might, transform who people become. Her eyes found Preston again. That boy is in this room today. Not because I forgave him. I'm still working on that. But because he's working on himself. Because his family chose change over denial. Because sometimes people surprise you when you give them the chance to be better. Preston sat up straighter. His eyes were wet. So here's what I want to leave you with today. We all have power. Some of us have more than others. The question isn't whether you have power. The question is what you do with it. She gripped the podium. Do you use power to exclude? To humiliate? To protect systems that only serve people who look like you? Or do you use power to lift? To challenge? To demand that everyone, be treated with the dignity they deserve? The audience was completely still. I was judged by the color of my skin before a single word left my mouth. Dismissed as nothing by people who had never accomplished a fraction of what I had built. Attacked by a child who was taught that cruelty was acceptable because it was directed at someone who didn't belong. She straightened. But here's the truth that boys' parents finally learned. And that I hope you carry with you when you leave this room. She looked across the sea of faces. Every person you meet is carrying something you can't see. Building something you don't know about. Surviving something you can't imagine. The person you dismiss today might change your world tomorrow. The person you humiliate might one day hold the power you thought was yours alone. Her voice dropped. So choose dignity. Every time. For everyone. Not because they might matter someday. But because they matter now. The applause started slowly. Then built. Then thundered. 2,000 people on their feet. In the front row, Preston was applauding harder than anyone. Zariah stepped back from the podium. Let the moment wash over her. Not triumph. Not revenge. Something better. Legacy. That night, she received an email. From Preston Hawthorne. Subject, thank you, Dr. Cole. I don't know if you'll read this. I wouldn't blame you if you don't. I just wanted to say that your speech today changed something in me. I've been trying to be different for a year. But hearing you talk about why you chose accountability instead of revenge, that helped me understand something I couldn't put into words before. You didn't just teach my parents a lesson. You taught me one. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the second chance you gave my family. Thank you for not destroying us. Thank you for showing us a better way. I hope someday I can make you proud. Preston. Zariah read the email 3 times. Then she replied. Preston, I'm not the one you need to make proud. Make yourself proud. Make the people you serve proud. Make your future children proud. That's how change works. One person at a time. One choice at a time. One moment at a time. You're already on the right path. Keep walking. Dr. Cole. She closed her laptop. Looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, a 12-year-old boy was becoming someone new. A family was rebuilding on foundations of accountability instead of privilege. A scholarship recipient named Keisha Williams was studying at Yale. And a woman who had been covered in frosting on a country club terrace had turned humiliation into transformation. Not for herself. For everyone who would come after. That was the real victory. That was always the real victory. If this story moved you, if it made you think about how you treat people you don't recognize, then share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel and turn on that notification bell so you never miss another story. We share stories like this every week. Stories of dignity. Stories of justice. Stories of people who chose to be better even when the world told them they didn't have to. Drop a comment below. Have you ever been underestimated because of how you looked? How did you respond? Your story might inspire someone who is going through the same thing right now. Because here's the truth we all need to remember. We've all judged too quickly at some point. We've all dismissed someone based on appearance. We've all been the Hawthorns in small ways. The question isn't whether you've done it. The question is whether you'll do it again. What's your answer? Until next time, remember. Never mistake silence for weakness. Never mistake composure for surrender. And never, ever underestimate the power of someone who knows exactly who they are. Stay humble. Stay kind. And always choose dignity.